Remember when Storm lost her powers in X-Men 97 and she had to grind her way back to get them? Yeah, that was nothing compared to the comics. When Henry Peter Gyrich tries to shoot Rogue, Storm ends up getting hit instead and she ends up losing her powers in the comics, despite Forge's best efforts to stop it. Enter Life Death, where she's being cared for Forge, only to discover that he was actually the one who designed the weapon that took her powers away and is responsible for her struggling. And in the end, she ends up leaving to discover herself, leaving the X-Men and all of it behind. Enter Life Death 2, a beautiful story where I thought for sure that Storm would get her powers back. Nope. But she does get reunited with the X-Men, still not having powers, and goes to Asgard on a mission. However, with Loki's help and the help of the dwarves, she ends up taking this weapon that's kind of like Thor's hammer and wields it to defeat Hela with the help of Loki and other characters. However, ultimately that comes with a price that she's not willing to pay. And so despite finally having the powers of the Storm back that she's been crying out for, she ultimately rescinds them and returns to Earth with the X-Men. Amidst the trial of Magneto, that's right, she doesn't lose her powers during the trial because she had already lost them by the time the trial had begun in the comics. Enter Uncanny X-Men 201, where there's a lot of context backing it up, but basically you have a powerless Storm versus Cyclops, whose son, like with the show, was born during the trial of Magneto, and now he's very much conflicted, and ultimately, Cyclops loses the fight for leadership to a powerless Storm. And then their first major crossover event, Mutant Massacre, happens, where the X-Men are led by a powerless Storm. With half the team now basically out of commission after Mutant Massacre, a new team led by a powerless Storm forms. During this period, the X-Men still had crossovers with the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and Mephisto. But it becomes apparent that Storm's lack of powers really is a detriment to the team, and so she seeks out Forge to finally restore her powers once and for all. However, he's nowhere to be found, and in his place is Naze, who's his mentor. Naze tells Storm that Forge is summoning a Native American god called the Adversary, who is going to come through this gateway that Forge is opening up and rewrite reality as we know it, destroying the one we know to create a new world. Storm exploits his feelings for her and comes close only to stab Forge and stop his evil plan, except plot twist, Forge was actually trying to stop the Adversary, and Naze was actually just the Adversary in disguise, and now he can come through the gateway. Enter Fall of the Mutants. Storm and Forge wake up in an alternate world where they get to be the Adam and Eve to a new humanity. The problem is that they would have to let the old world that they love so much die. Storm makes the choice that she would rather have her powers back and go home and save the X-Men than live this perfect happy life. And so Forge, in this other world, creates a device that restores her power and she returns home. Once again, leading the X-Men ready to save the world, over 40 issues after she lost her powers.